What is going on, YouTube? In today's video, we are going to work on a hip routine. So it's going to be a follow along video, so I want you to follow along at home. We're going to run through 4 mobility exercises and stretches for the hips. Then we're going to finish it up with a strengthening exercise for the butt, for the glutes. So let's get it started. We're going to start off with a figure 4 supported. So I'm going to place my hands behind my back. My legs are going to be out in front of me. Then I'm going to cross one leg over, and then I'm going to slide my other foot in towards me, bending my knee. Just like that. And the further up your foot comes, then the more intense the stretch is going to be. The further out the foot, it's not going to be as intense. So find what works best for you. Everyone's going to be different. You should feel a slight stretch, but it shouldn't be uncomfortable, it shouldn't be painful, it should feel pretty good. So find what works best for you, and we're gonna hang out here. Let's do 30 seconds, so I got a timer, and let's do 1 minute, and then I'll pause it right in the middle. So get into position, and let's go. So 30 seconds. And you can just hang out here, and if it's not enough of a stretch, feel free to make it a little bit more intense. So 30 seconds here working on our hip external rotators. And this one just feels really good. 10 more seconds to go. Make sure you're breathing too. Try not to hold your breath in any of these movements. Just breathe normally. Good. That's 30 seconds there. Let's go back to the starting position, cross the other leg over, and then bring it up. Ooh, the side's tighter. All right, here we go, and let's get started. 30 seconds. And you might find that in your body. One side might feel a little bit more tight than the other. That's totally normal, so don't worry about that. But this side for me is definitely tighter. 10 more seconds to go. I'm going to scooch up just a little bit for the last 10 seconds. Breathe. All right, so 30 seconds on that side. Stop. Okay, there we go. So 30 seconds each side, figure 4 supported. And now let's get into a half kneeling hip flexor stretch. So this bottom knee is going to be, I'm just putting a towel down for a little bit of support, a little bit of padding here, and then the other leg is going to be out in front. This is kind of like that classic hip flexor stretch you always see. And this is when we start leaning forward and shifting forward. But again, a couple things we need to think about here is make sure your butt is tucked under and you squeeze your butt before we shift forward. So I don't want to see this huge arch in your low back, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but we can get an even better, more targeted stretch if we can lose that arch in our low back and tuck our hip under. I like to think if you're wearing a big belt buckle, I want that belt buckle pointing straight ahead and up a little bit as you shift forward, or at least think of that. And then shifting forward, and you should feel a way better stretch on your hip flexor quad here. So we're gonna run through 30 seconds here. All right, so let's get that timer set. Let's get into position. So I like to squeeze the butt, lose that arch in the low back, and then from here, we're going to maintain that position, shift forward. Ooh, that feels good. 30 seconds. If you squeeze that butt cheek, it should feel a little bit more intense of a stretch. Hands anywhere. I just have them supported on my leg here. And again, breathe. So working that all-important hip flexor. 5 more seconds. Let's pause it and let's run through the other side. Other leg out in front, keep the hips pointing forward, tuck under, shift forward, perfect. And let's finish it up. And then again, just really concentrate on making sure those hips are tucked under and you never let that arch. Good, big breath. Good, 10 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. All right. 30 seconds on each side there. It's a half kneeling hip flexor stretch. Now our third one, we're gonna go into a supported 90-90. So I wanna start getting a little bit of movement in here. Those were great static stretches. And now I wanna go into something that's a little bit more dynamic and get our body moving. So we're gonna place our hands behind our back, legs out. So I like the feet probably a little bit more than shoulder width apart, and then bend the knees. Kind of an awkward position. So I'm gonna turn this way a little bit. And then all we're gonna do is drop our knees to the ground. And we call this 90-90 because our knees make 90-degree angles, or close to it. And then we're going to come over to the other side and drop those knees. I wanna go through this on each side 10 times. So let's run through that now, and then we're gonna do it a different version after. So let's get into the starting position, just like this. And then let's drop down. Good, that's 1. Good, 2. 3, working hip external rotation and internal rotation. So both rotations. That's 4 and 4 here. If you slide forward, that's okay. You can always just readjust. 5. 5, I'm gonna scooch back a little bit. Good, 6. Good, 6. 7. Good, 7. Good, 8. Good, 8. 9. 9. Let's finish it up. 10. And 10. So that is a supported 90-90, and we're moving in that position. So for our last exercise, for the sequence, we're gonna do that again, but we're gonna do it with our arms out in front of us. So it's an unsupported 90-90. We're gonna have to work a little bit harder here. So let's get into position, but everything stays the same. Feet stay wide, knees bent, and then I like to just place my hands out in front just for a little bit of balance. And then we just drop down here, open up, dropping down to the other side. If this is too difficult for you, for some people this is gonna just be a little bit too tough and you're gonna feel like you're gonna fall over, just go back to the supported. Nothing wrong with that. But we're gonna run through just 5 reps on each side, nice and controlled on this one. Let's go. Good, drop down. Good, 1. Good, 2. Good, 3. Also, the feet can move a little bit. I'm okay with that. Good, 4. Good, 4. Last one. 5. And 5. All right, so that's it for the mobility exercise and stretches. We hit up that figure 4 with a little bit of support. Then we hit that hip flexor stretch, a little bit of the easier stretches to start, and then we start to move a little bit. We did that 90-90 supported, and then we did the 90-90 unsupported while moving. But there's a huge important factor here in making sure you're flexible and you stay flexible is also a little bit of strength goes a long way. So we're gonna work a little bit of hip and glute strength here, glute strength. And we're gonna hit a side plank with a clamshell. So we're actually getting some good core here, the side of the body, even shoulder stability. It's just a good big bang for your buck strength exercise, core stability exercise. And let's run through it. So we're gonna get into a side plank position. I like to bring my knees about, they're slightly bent here, probably like 30 degrees. And your hips are just slightly back. Palm down, and then we're going to drive our hip off of the ground. And then all we're gonna do here is we're going to keep our feet together and we're going to open up our knees. Make sure you don't lean back like that. We wanna keep our hips kind of stacked on top of each other, especially when you're driving your knee up. The tendency is going to want to lean back. It makes it easier. But we want to challenge ourselves. We want to challenge this hip. And again, we're getting all this on this side too. So our hip, our side, our shoulder on this whole other side too. It's so good. But we want to keep a little bit of strength in our glutes to help with our flexibility. Remember, sometimes a weak muscle can be mistaken as a tight muscle. All right, so let's get it started. We're gonna do 10 reps on each side. Good here, lift up, make sure the hip stays up, and then hand anywhere, then let's drive it up. Good too. Sometimes I like to put my thumb right on my glute and feel it contract as I come up. 3. Good, 4. 5. Good, 6. 7. Good, 8. 9. 10. In this position, don't forget about the shoulder. You're always pushing away from the ground. Now let's do the other side. We'll finish up this routine with 10 more reps. I have my cell phone in this pocket. Here you go. Bring up the hips. Let's open up here. Clamshell. 1. Good. 2. 3. 4. 5. Good. 6. 7. 8. 2 more. 9. And 10. Whew. All right, so a little bit of strength to finish up that mobility routine. That is it. We hit our hip exercises and stretches, and then we finished it up with a glute strengthening exercise. So hopefully you guys followed along with me, and if you didn't, make sure you do it later. And yeah, if you like this video, make sure you like it. Comment below, see what other routines you would want to see in the future, then also subscribe. Oh yeah, also, I have all these types of videos on my membership site. Go to joetherapy.com, check it out. I'll see you guys next time.